What's up? It's Joe Ready from Ready's Rise. We're back here at Porsche Clearwater, and guess what? I have that one driver's car that very soon is gonna be extinct. This car right here. This is a 2025 Porsche Cayman, but what's wonderful about this Cayman, it is the sweet spot of the lineup. It is the Cayman GTS. But before we get into this mid-engine sports car from this iconic German brand, let's talk about what's going on here. So, yes, you heard correct. 2025 is the end of the Cayman and the Porsche Boxster as we currently know it. And it's really a sad story because, think about it, the Cayman's been around since 2005. The Porsche Boxster has been around since the late 90s. And it was one of those cars that helped save Porsche as a brand. Now, yes, many of you have seen my reviews of the mighty Cayman GT4 RS, and undeniably, that is the utmost in performance from the mid-engine Cayman. But sometimes it's not always about outright performance or lap times. Sometimes it's about driving engagement and just that pleasure that you get from rowing through your 6-speed manual and having a naturally aspirated engine. And guess what? That's where this GTS comes into play. It basically is what many people call a Cayman GT4 Lite. But does that make it a bad thing? Why don't we go ahead, let's dive into our GT Silver, that iconic color from Porsche of a Cayman GTS, and find out, is it that perfect Porsche sports car that you should be driving? Let's go ahead, let's dive in and find out. Right off the bat, like I said, silver, I don't care what Porsche it is, always looks good on the German branded vehicle. At the front of the business, you're gonna see the upgraded in the optional headlights. So you're gonna have your LED daytime running lamps, there's 4 of them, and then you have your LED headlight. Love the way everything else is blacked out on the interior. We have washers for your headlights, which is also an option. And then you'll notice the LED turn signals are down lower, right above the massive air intake, and you can see the heat exchanger from behind that opening. Now, the GTS, like I said, slots right in under the GT4, and what's interesting is that for 2025, you can't even get a GT4. They actually ended production of the GT4 2024 model year. The only vehicle above this is the GT4 RS, and that's not available as a manual. We have some silver, some flat black, both in the air intake and also on that lower splitter, but very, very clean design. Now, as we come across that unmistakable front end, even though this isn't a 911, still has that Porsche look to it, evolution rather than revolution. Nice smooth front bumper area. You got a large opening in the center. You can see the heat exchangers in the back, so fully functional. And you got your splitter that is going to give us downforce and stop air from going underneath this Cayman GTS. But let me know what you think about the look at the front. Just a very clean, very pure look, timeless. Because, like I said, Cayman's been around since 2005. That's 20 freaking years. Now, as we rise up, you got that long sloping hood with the Porsche crest. So much history going back to Dr. Ferry Porsche's iconic brand. And then coming around the bend, what are we working with? Wheel and tires. So you're gonna have these optional wheels, gloss black, that single spoke design with the machine aluminum. Massive Brembo 6-piston bright red calipers. Rotors up front are 2-piece cross-drilled, 13.8 inches up front and a little over 13 inches out back. I know some brands of sports cars have 16-inch rotors and stuff. Remember, this is actually a smaller car than the current 911. A lot of Porsche fans love the Cayman because the overall dimensions remind them of Porsches from the past. Now, when it comes to tires, you do get those nice Michelin Power Sport tires, those 4S tires, gonna give you grip, gonna give you durability, reliability. 20 inches in diameter. Tires up front are 235 on the width, 35 series sidewall. The GTS does sit a little bit lower than your standard Cayman because it has PASM, the Porsche Adaptive Suspension Management System. But really great look. And if you don't like this wheel, Porsche has a plethora that you could choose from. Now coming down the side, we got our painted mirror caps in that GT silver. No sunroof on a Cayman. If you need to have the sun's rays on you, you got to go Boxster. Remember, that's the sister version of the Cayman, the topless version of the Cayman. Now, I like the way this one still has the GTS 4.0 badge. 4.0 was not your grade point average in high school. Let's be real. You were more like a 2.3, weren't you? But what 4.0 kind of is in reference to is the 4-liter flat 6 naturally aspirated engine, which I can't wait to talk about more once we continue. Speaking of continuing, love the silhouette of the Cayman. This does have the optional painted black door handles, not my favorite. They kind of stick out like a sore thumb, so I am gonna zonk that, but I do love the enlarged air intakes for that mid-engine. Remember, this is a mid-engine sports car from Porsche, whereas the 911 is a rear engine. So that is one of the big differences. Now out back, you still got that 20-inch wheel. You still got the Brembo. These are 4-piston calipers, but we have a little bit more wider wheel, a little bit more rubber to meet the road. 265 on the width, 35 series sidewall, and you do, of course, have a limited slip diff. Now, as we wrap it around, I love the rear fender on the Cayman. Oh my God, just sexy as can be. Great LED taillights, full LED. And then you have a nice ducktail spoiler, which is actually a piece of active aero. This spoiler will raise and lower depending on what speed. The one thing that's always broken my heart about the Cayman is even though it's a mid-engine, you can't see it. Even through the glass, you can't see it. It's down underneath that carpet in there. That's one of the sad things about the Cayman. Now, if you get a GT4 RS, you can see the covers for the airbox, but you still can't see the engine. That's just one of the things with this car, but you do get usable cargo space, both rear and front, which is kind of nice. Now, Porsche name in that bright silver, the 718, I just popped the back, which I didn't mean to do. It wants me to show you, wants to talk about the engine. I'm not ready. Wait, it's okay, I promise. 718 Cayman GTS badge in the black, looks great. And 718, remember, is the chassis. The previous generation Cayman GTS is known as the 981. It's sort of like with 911s. You got 991, 992, so on and so forth. This is the 718. This is the last of the 718 generation of the Cayman. And then working our way down to ground level, you're gonna have your sport exhaust with the black tips, nice oval opening, and a nice rear diffuser that's been reworked on this GTS. But man, clean, sexy design. Let's go ahead, let's pop the back here, open her up, and talk about the horsepower of this sports car. All right guys, we got the rear hatch lifted up. Like I said, you got some really good usable cargo space in the rear, but you can't see the engine underneath the cover there. But let's talk about it because it's a worthwhile setup. What do we got going on? You have that 4-liter flat 6 engine, naturally aspirated. It is the same engine that's in the GT4, just detuned. So what does that mean? Horsepower wise, you're looking at 394 horsepower, 309 pound-feet of torque. You can get this with a 7-speed PDK, but thank you, Porsche Clearwater. This one has that 6-speed manual transmission. If you know how to do the dance, 0 to 60 in 3.8 seconds, quarter mile in 12 seconds flat at 118 miles an hour. MPG 17 in the city, 24 on the highway. She has a top speed of 182 miles an hour, and she weighs right around 3,100 pounds. Now, when it comes to cubic feet of space, you have 10 cubic feet of space out back and 5 cubic feet of space underneath the front hood, that front mounted trunk. But why don't we go ahead? I know you can't see it, but I guarantee you, you'll be able to hear it. Let's fire up this flat 6 in the Cayman GTS and hear what it sounds like. All right, guys, we are inside this 2025 GT Silver Cayman GTS, that 4.0 GTS. I know you're saying to yourself, well, Joe, how much is this car? I want a little bit of sports car perfection, especially Porsche. How much is it? Well, starting MSRP is right around $106,000. And as you know, with Porsches, it's a smorgasbord of adding options if you want to. This one has quite a bit of options, which brings the MSRP to $120,000. But let's see how this one is spec'd and if it is the perfect sports car. To the door panels, love the leather. You have the extended leather up top with the contrast stitching, real deal optional carbon fiber trim, and that two-tone. You got that off-white two-tone, very classy, very sporty. You have that mid pocket, which is perfect for your track day Twinkies. And then you have that front pocket where you could put a couple ding-dongs and ho-hos, and we got the Bose sound system. Now going from the door panel to the dash, more of that extended leather, the stitching, the carbon fiber. I love the old school hidden cup holders, even though you're not drinking in my Cayman whatsoever. I don't care what trim it is. You got your Nürburgring Nordschleife Twinkie net holder that makes sure your Twinkie doesn't slide out when you're going around the Nürburgring. We do have the Sport Chrono pack with the Sport Chrono clock, optional white face gauges, 7-inch digital infotainment system screen. It is the older screen setup, so we're not really going to dive into it, but we have all real buttons and knobs for our audio controls. You got dual climate, and we have the optional heated seats and ventilated seats. More carbon fiber, more great stitching. There's that 6-speed. This is where you're going to make the magic happen with the carbon fiber. Love the silver gear pattern, nice short throws, crisp engagement. Out back, if you want to be cool at the car shows, you could raise your rear spoiler. You got your sport suspension button, open up the exhaust, shut the traction control off, shut off that pesky auto start stop feature. A place for 3 Jolly Ranchers. Make mine sour apple. Love the leather. Open it up. USB-A and enough room for your platinum iPhone 47. Optional Porsche crest in the seat. 2-tone style. This is the 18-way adjustable seat with all your seat controls on the side. And we have Race Tex, which is Porsche's fancy word for Alcantara on the headliner, which is really great. But I just love being behind the wheel of these cars. Why don't you come over here? I'll show you. All right, guys, behind the business end, the wheel of this Cayman GTS. I love the silver aluminum sill plate, the ambient lighting. This illuminates at night, and then a pedal box right out of a Porsche race car. Aluminum dead pedal, clutch, brake, and throttle. Seats are fan-freaking-tastic with the nice ball. And these are the 18-way adjustable. You can get the carbon performance bucket seats if you wanted to. But I just love the way I'm 6 feet tall. There's plenty of room in here. Steering wheel, the leather. You got your sport mode adjustability. Love the way they hollow out the spokes. And then you have that tachometer right in the center there. Almost 8,000 RPM, 7,800 if you want to be technical. And then we have our auxiliary gauges on the other side, analog speedometer. But why don't we go ahead? I'm not showing you the frunk. I don't care. What I want to do is, if you're ready, I'm ready. Let's go on throttle in this GTS. All right, guys, we are behind the wheel of this 2025 Cayman GTS. Of course, we have it in Sport Plus mode. Right away, the driving position is phenomenal in this car. Everything is exactly where it should be, and that should make sense to you because Porsche has been so dominant when it comes to the racetrack, when it comes to sports car perfection. Really, they do a fantastic job. Now, I love having that tack right in the center. Nice and large. If you're ready, I'm ready. On throttle. So you have the sound of that flat 6 with all of that great power. And it's nothing too loud. What you're really hearing is the induction noise from behind you. And of course, on top of that, you have all the sensations of that manual transmission, nice slick shifting manual transmission. And on top of that, you have this awesome seating position and visibility that's out the windshield that's second to none. You would think with the car sitting a little bit lower that the ride would be harsh. It is not. The ride is not harsh. And with the different modes, it's going to adjust and adapt. This car has blind spot monitoring, the backup radar system, the whole 9 yards when it comes to protection from you moving the car around, whether it's on the road or whether it is, of course, in a parking lot. But I just love the overall dimensions of this car, and it's so balanced. That's the other great thing, is that it's just a balanced sports car. More balanced than a 911 because it has the engine in the middle, not at the rear, which is important for that 50-50 weight distribution. Steering wheel feels great. It's a nice small size, that GT spec wheel. They actually mimic the wheel out of the mighty 918 Spider. So that's another little cool factor you can tell all your friends when you're behind the wheel of this Cayman GTS. The gearbox, very short throws, very crisp engagement. Pedals are perfectly placed for heel-toe downshifting. And the sound is where it's really at. That's where it's second to none in this car. I prefer that this one has the optional white face gauges as well. Really gives it a nice pop of color with the white and all of the black numbers on the tack, especially when you're going through the gears, you're rolling through the gears. Remember, redline's at 7,800 RPM with this naturally aspirated flat six. On throttle! Great sound. So smooth, very linear torque delivery. It really is amazing how well this Porsche drives. And I can understand why people who buy these hold on to them. And if they do sell them, they miss them. They wind up missing them after they sell them. But driving it in traffic, really easy. And that sound. Steering feel, it almost feels like your hands are holding on to the axles and steering the car. That's how good it is. God, it's such a perfect, classy sports car. Listen to the sound of that. That's worth the price of admission. But I hope that this has been a good, quick overall review of what the Cayman GTS is all about, especially the last year. We're gonna get back to where it all started and wrap this one up, so I'll see you in a split second. All right, guys, another great day in so many ways here at Porsche Clearwater. We definitely got to thank Larry and the rest of the team getting us access to this 6-speed manual, that slick shifting manual in this Cayman GTS. Let me know what you think. When it comes to sports car perfection, is the Cayman GTS the best way to go, especially for the price at the end of the day? Let me know in that comment section. But if you're new to the channel and you're on your way out, hit that subscribe button. I promise you it's worthwhile. Come back for more. If you are a subscriber, thank you for being part of the Raise Rides family. Gotta give up to Stephen Flood. He is drooling. I had to get him a Porsche bib from inside because he's drooling all over this Cayman GTS. He wants to get behind the wheel and just go on throttle all day. Don't worry, Steven, one day it will happen. And just like always, guys, I'll see you on the next ride.